How did Repairman Jack come about, the first book?
Well, the first book was written back in the early 80s, and it was just the next book I was going to write. And I'd been writing a novel and it wasn't getting anywhere. I was very frustrated, and one night I had a frustration dream where I was being chased around a rooftop by something, and I didn't know what it was, but whatever I threw at it or did to it, it kept coming back, and I woke up almost out of breath. And I said, boy, I've got to use that. And so I had to come up with a character who would survive that encounter, and it wasn't me, so it had to be. So I came up with this urban mercenary, and then I decided, I'm pretty much a libertarian politically. So I said, well, let's have him have no identity. He's never paid taxes. He doesn't have a driver's license. He's completely off the radar. And by the time I finished the novel, I said, this is a series character. People are going to want to see more of him. And I said, I don't want to do a series. This is back in, the book was published, The Tomb is the name of it. It was the first novel. And it was supposed to be a standalone. And because I knew I was going to get pestered for a series, I left him dying at the end, bleeding to death. But he wouldn't die. The book never went out of print. It hit the Times bestseller list, and then it stayed in print, and more people reading it, and more. And then to contact an author, you had to write a letter, and usually through the publisher. And I would start getting these envelopes from people saying, "More Repairman Jack, more Repairman Jack." And I held off for 14 years before doing the second novel, because I just did not want to get into a series. And then I said, I'll do one more. So in 1998, I brought him back in Legacies, and it was a big hit. And I said, well, I'll do one more. I'll make it 3. And that was Conspiracies. And I had such a ball writing that. I actually went out to, it's all about a grand unification of conspiracy theories. And I actually went out to a UFO convention in Nevada and had a great time. And I said, gee, this is fun. And I realized I've been hopping genres all the time. I said, I can hop genres within Repairman Jack. I just wrote Legacies was mostly a high-tech thriller. Conspiracies was a conspiracy type of thing. And the next idea I had was sort of like a medical thriller. And I could put Jack in it, and then it's a Repairman Jack novel, and the marketing department's happy. And I'm writing a different type of novel, and I'm happy. This is perfect. So now I'm working on number 13 right now.
And you've actually jumped genres for more than just Repairman Jack.
Well, that was a problem for me. It's not a good thing to do with your career. I started out as science fiction. Then I moved into horror, which was really my first love, but there was no market for it before Stephen King. And then I did some strange books like this novel, Black Wind, which is really a World War II alternate history paranormal family saga or something like that, if you put it all together. And nobody really knew how to market it. And then people were starting getting annoyed with me in the marketing departments. But I always wrote the next book. And so I never really had a plan, which is, writers nowadays, the newer writers are very aware of the market and of establishing an identity. And I wasn't. I was just, a haphazard type of guy who just wrote the next book. And when I came back to Jack, as I said, it allowed me to genre hop within a series. So I had the best of both worlds.
What do you think that Repairman Jack, you tried to let him die for a long time because you didn't want to work with this character again. What to you is more important? Is it the character or is it the story? What comes first for you?
Well, it's the story. The story always comes first for me. And then in a series, it's really tough to keep up the tension because he's the hero of your series. He's going to be there for the next book, so you can't really put him. You can certainly put him in physical danger, but nobody believes he's going to die. So then what you have to do is come up with other ways to ratchet up the tension, and you can't always have somebody after his girlfriend, or that becomes old. How many books are you going to have that where she's in danger all the time? So you have to build in other characters into the story and make the reader like them, and then put them in jeopardy too. And I'm known as I've got a reputation now of being fairly heartless with creating a character that I really make the reader like and then having them die. And I hear from the readers. They're still ragging me about. I had a novel called. What was the name of the novel? Deep as the Marrow. Deep as the Marrow was sort of a political medical thriller. Again, mixing genres. Jack was not in it, but there was a character named Poppy in there that I fell in love with, and the readers fell in love with. But her story arc was that she had to die at the end. And I hated doing it, and some readers really hated me for doing it too. And this is published back in the 90s, and people find a novel and then they write me angry letters, or they go on the website and post, "Why did you do that? How could you do that?" And Jack's family, they're not immune to death, And so there were people have posted on the website, "I've just read chapter 2 in such and such a book. I just can't believe what he did." And why did you do that? Yeah, well, it's just something to get the ball rolling. And so I have been pretty merciless with the secondary characters.
How do you come up with how you're going to kill them off, and how realistic are these death scenes?
Well, I'm not into gore. I feel that less is more. There's a famous movie called The Leopard Man, and it's a old black and white film from the 40s. And in it, this little girl is out shopping for bread. Her mother sends her out for bread, and this leopard man supposedly has been killing people. And on her way back, it's all spooky, and there's shadows, and you see a shadow of a cat, and she's terrified. So she runs home. She's at her front door, banging on it, screaming and crying. And her mother says, "Maria, you stop crying, and I'll let you in. But I'm not going to put up with this anymore. You stop screaming." And she stops screaming. And then the mother is about to open the door. She looks down and sees the blood flow under the door. So what the director did was make you imagine what went on the other side of the door. She's dead. And she's cut up awfully because of all the blood. But he makes you create that scene in your head. And I think anything he could have shown you would not be probably as bad as what you might have imagined. So in a lot of sense, I've taken that to heart. That has always influenced me that less can be more with violence and death. And so just hinting at things and not showing you the actual death, I think it sometimes is better. Other times, I've had Jack, put a gun up to someone's heart and fire it twice and just blow them away like that, or shoot him in the gut and let him suffer a while because, and that was one instance where he commits cold-blooded first-degree murder, and I said, this was an awful character they killed. This is really a bad guy. And I said, that might be too much. But I said, I'm going to leave it in. And I waited for reader reaction, and I actually said to him, "You think that was too much?" He said, "Oh no, he should have done worse. Couldn't you have come up with something worse for that guy? I hated that guy." So I have a very bloodthirsty readership, I think. But if I got away with that, I can pretty much get away with anything.